There we are. And then a quick introduction. We're continuing our reading of the Circe section of Ulysses. And for those of you who will be watching this on YouTube or using the YouTube video, I'll put a description of a key sentence if you want to read along. And with that, we shall continue. So, Bloom. I wanted them to have now concluded nitrous was never, hence this. But tomorrow is a new day will be. Past was, is today. Now, what is will?
Sorry, Duncan, I thought we were starting at Virag prompts into his ear in a pig's whisper.
No.
Were you here? I think.
But that's next.
Right.
Yeah, Duncan is reading the section right before that.
Ah, okay.
Bloom speaking.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Okay, we got it cleared up enough? All right.
Perfect.
Okay, so Bloom is still talking. What now is told then tomorrow is now was be past yesterday. Virag prompts into his ear in a pig's whisper. Insects of the day spend their brief existence in reiterated coition. Lured by the smell of the inferior pulchitudious female, possessing extendified pudental verve and dorsal region. Pretty pole. His yellow parrot beak gabbles nasally. They had a proverb in the Carpathians in or about the year 5,550 of our era. 1 tablespoon of honey will attract friend Bruin more than a dozen barrels of first choice malt vinegar. Bears buzz bothers bees. But of this apart. At another time we may resume. We were very pleased, we others. He coughs and bending his brow, rubs his nose thoughtfully with a scooping hand. You shall find out these night insects follow the light. An illusion, for remember their complex, unadjustable eye. For all these knotty points, see the 17th book of my Fundamentals of Sexology, or The Love Passion, which Dr. L.B. says is the book sensation of the year. Some, to example, there are again, whose movements are automatic. Perceive. That is his appropriate sun. Night bird, night sun, night town. Chase me, Charlie. Buzz. Next.
Bloom. Bee or blue bottle 2 other day. Butting shadow on wall, dazed self. Then me wandered dazed down shirt. Good job, I. Virag. His face impassive. Laughs in a rich feminine key. Splendid. Spanish fly in his fly, or mustard plaster on his dibble. He gobbles gluttonously with turkey wattles. Bubbly jock, bubbly jock. Where are we? Open sesame. Cometh forth. He unrolls his parchment rapidly and reads, his glowworm's nose running backwards over the letters which he closed. Stay, good friend. I bring thee thy answer. Red Bank oysters will shortly be upon us. I'm the besto cook. Those succulent bivalves may help us, and the truffles of Perigord. Tubers dislodged to Mr. Omnivorious Poker were unsurpassed in cases of nervous debility or virages. Though they stink, yet they sting. He wags head with cackling raillery, jocular, with my eyeglass in my ocular. Bloom, absently. Ocular woman's bivalve case is worse, always open sesame. The cloven sex. Why they fear vermin, creeping things. Yet Eve and the serpent contradict. Not a historical fact. Obvious analogy to my idea. Serpents too are gluttons for women's milk. wind their way through miles of omnivorous forests to suck succulent or breast dry. Like those bubbly jocular Roman matrons one reads of in Elephantiasis, Virag, his mouth projected in hard wrinkles, eyes stonily, forlornly closed, psalms in outlandish monotone, that the cows with those distended udders, that they have been the known. Bloom, I am going to scream, I beg your pardon. Ah, so. He repeats spontaneously to seek out the saurian lair in order to entrust their teats to his avid suction. And milks Aphis profoundly. Instinct rules the world in life, in death. Next, please.
Virag, head askew, arches his back and hunched winged shoulders, peers at the moth out of blear bulged eyes, points a horning claw and cries, "Who's Ger? Who's dear Gerald? Oh, I much fear he shall be most badly burned. Will some please person not now impediment so catastrophic that agitation of first-class table numpkin?" He mews, "Puss, puss, puss." He sighs, draws back, and stares sideways down with dropping underjaw. Well, he doth rest anon. I'm a tiny, tiny thing, ever flying in the spring, round and round a ring-a-ring. Long ago, I was a king. Now I do this kind of thing, on the wing, bing. He rushes against the mauve shade, flapping noisily. Pretty petticoats. From left upper entrance with 2 sliding steps, Henry Flower comes forward to left front center. He wears a dark mantle and drooping plumed sombrero. He carries a silver-stringed inlaid dulcimer and a long-stemmed bamboo Jacob's pipe, its clay bowl fashioned as a female head. He wears dark velvet hose and silver-buckled pumps. He has the romantic Savior's face with flowing locks, thin beard, and mustache. His spindle legs and sparrow feet are those of the tenor Mario, Prince of Candia. He settles down his goffered ruffs and moistens his lips with a passage of his amorous tongue, Henry, in a low, dulcet voice, touching the strings of his guitar. There is a flower that bloometh. Virag, truculent, his jowls set, stares at the lamp. Grave Bloom regards Zoe's neck. Henry Gallant turns with pendant dewlap to the piano. So.
Stephen, to himself, play with your eyes shut. Imitate Pa. Filling my belly with husks of swine. Too much of this. I will arise and go to my. Expect this is the. Steve, thou art in a perilous way. Must visit old DC or telegraph. Our interview of this morning has left me on a deep impression. Through our ages, we will write fully tomorrow. I'm partially drunk. By the way, he touches the keys again. Minor chord comes now. Yes, not much, however. Almidano Attifoni holds out a button roll of music and vigorous mustache work. Artifoni, chi rifletta, lei rovina tutto. Flurry, sing us something. Love's old sweet song. Stephen, no voice. I am a most finished artist. Lynch, did I show you the letter about the lute? Flurry, smirking, the bird that can sing and won't sing. The Siamese twins, Philip drunk and Philip sober, 2 Oxford dons with lawnmowers appear in the window embrasure. Both are masked with Matthew Arnold's face. Philip sober, take a fool's advice, all is not well. Work it out with the butt end of a pencil like a good young idiot. £3.12 you got. 2 notes, 1 sovereign, 2 crowns, if youth but new. Mooney's unveiled. Mooney's sur mer, the Moira, Larchets, Hollis Street Hospital, Burke's. I'm watching you. Philip drunk impatiently. Bosh man, go to hell. I paid my way. If I could only find out about octaves, reduplication of personality. Who was it told me his name? His lawnmower begins to purr. Yes, Zoe Sasagapo. Have a notion I was here before. Was it not? When was it not? Atkinson, his card I have somewhere. Mac, somebody. Oh, Mac, I have it. He told me about, hold on, Swinburne, was it? No. Sorry. And the song, Stephen's spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. Flurry, are you out of minute? You're like someone I knew once. Stephen, out of it now, to himself, clever. Philip drunk and Philip sober, their lawnmowers purring with the rigadoon of grass bands. Clever ever, out of it, out of it. By the by, you have the book, the thing, the ash plant. Yes, there it is. Clever, out of it now. Keep in condition, do like us. Zoe, there was a priest down here 2 nights ago to do his bit of business with his coat buttoned up. You needn't try to hide, I says to him. I know you've a Roman collar. Next.
Perfectly logical from his standpoint, fall of man, harshly his pupils waxing. To hell with the Pope, nothing new under the sun. I am the virage who disclosed the sex secrets of monks and maidens, why I left the Church of Rome. Read the priest, the woman, and the confessional. Penrose, flippery gibbet, he wiggles. Woman, undoing with sweet pourdour her belt of rush rope, offers her almost yoni to man's lingam. Short time after man presents woman with pieces of jungle meat. Woman shows joy and covers herself with feather skins. Man loves her yoni fiercely with big lignum, the stiff one, he cries. Coitus volui. Then giddy woman will run about. Strong man grasps woman's wrist. Woman squeaks, bites, spokes. Man, now fierce, angry, strikes woman's fat. Yad dagna. He chases his tail. Piffa, poo-poo. He stops, sneezes. Help. He worries his butt. Lynch. I hope you gave the good feather a penance. 9 glorias for shooting a bishop. Zoe sprouts walrus smoke through her nostrils. He couldn't get a connection, only a sensation, a dry rush. Bloom, poor man. Zoe lightly, only for what happened to him. Bloom, how? Verag, diabolical rictus, a black numinosity, contracting his vag, cranes his scraggy neck forward. He lifts a mooncalf nozzle and howls. Ver flucht goim, he had a father, 40 fathers. He never existed, pig god. He had 2 left feet. He was Judas Icarius, a Libyan eunuch, the Pope's bastard. He leans out on tortured forepaws, elbows bent rigid, his eye agonizing in his flat skull neck, and yelps over the mute world. A son of a whore, apocalypse, Kitty, and Mary Shortall that was in the lock and with the pox she got from Jimmy Pigeon in the blue caps had a child of him that couldn't swallow and was smothered with the convulsions in the mattress, and we all subscribed for the funeral. Next, please.
Philip drunk, gravely. Qui vous a mis dans cette fichue position, Philippe? Philip sober, gaily. C'est à le sacré pigeon, Philippe. Kitty unpins her hat and sets it down calmly, patting her henna hair. And a prettier, a daintier head of winsome curls was never seen on a horse's shoulders. Lynch puts on her hat. She whips it off. Lynch laughs. And to such delights has Metchnikoff inoculated anthropoid apes. Florrie nods. Locomotor ataxi. Zoe gaily. Oh, my dictionary. Lynch. 3 wise virgins. Virag. Egg shaken, profuse yellow spawn foaming over his bony epileptic lips. She sold love filters, white wax, orange flower. Panther, the Roman centurion, polluted her with his genitories. He sticks out a flickering phosphorescent scorpion tongue, his hand on his fork. Messiah! He bursts her tympanum. With gibbering baboon's cries, he jerks his hips in the cynical spasm. Hick, heck, hack, hock, huck, cock, cuck. Then jumbo dollared, rubicund, muscle-bound, hairy nostrilled, huge bearded, cabbage geared, shaggy chested, shock maned, fat papped, stands forth, his loins and genitals tightened into a pair of black bathing backslops. Next, please.
So I guess we go with Sylvia.
Oh, it's not Jane?
Jane already read. And so if you're ready,
Oh, right.
Sylvia.
Ben Dollard, knackering castanet bones with his huge padded paws, yodels jovially in bass barrel tone. When love observes my ardent soul. The virgins, Nurse Callan and Nurse Quigley, burst through the ring keepers and ropes and mob him with open arms. The virgins, gushingly, Big Ben, ma chérie. A voice, hold that fellow with bad breeches. Ben Dollard smites his thigh in a bundered laughter. Hold him now. Henry caressing on his breast. A severed female head murmurs, thine heart, my love. He plucks his lute strings when I first saw. Barag, sloughing his skins, his multitudinous plumage molting. Rats. He yawns, showing a cold back throat, and closes his jaw by upward push of his parchment paw. After having said which I took my departure. Farewell, farewell thee well, Drek. Henry Flower combs his moustache and beard rapidly with a pocket comb and gives a cow's lick to his hair. Steered by his rapier, he glides to the door, his wild harp slung behind him. Bragg reaches the door in 2 ungainly stilthrops, his tail cocked, and deftly claps sideways on the wall, a pussy yellow flybill butting it with his head. The flybill, K11, post no bills, strictly confidential, Dr. High Franks. Henry, all is lost now. Barag unscrews his head in a trice, and holds it under his arm. Barag's head. Quack! Exeunt severally. Stephen over his shoulder to Zoe. You would have preferred the fighting parson who founded the Protestant error. Beware as antecedents. Dog Sage, and the last of Arius Heriarchus. The agony in the closet. Lynch. All one and the same God to her. Stephen devoutly. And sovereign Lord of all things. Florrie to Stephen. I'm sure you're a spoiled priest or a monk. Lynch. He is a cardinal's son. Next.
Stephen, Cardinal Sin, monks of the screw. His Eminence Simon Stephen, Cardinal Daedalus, primate of all Ireland, appears in the doorway, dressed in red soutane, sandals and socks. 7 dwarf simian acolytes, also in red, cardinal sins, uphold his train, peeping under it. He wears a battered silk hat sideways on his head. His thumbs are stuck in his armpits and his palms outspread. Round his neck hangs a rosary of corks, ending on his breast in a corkscrew cross. Releasing his thumbs, he invokes grace from on high with large wave gestures and proclaims with bloated pomp the cardinal. Conservio lies captured, he lies in the lowest dungeon, with manacles and chains around his limbs, weighing upwards of 3 tons. He looks at all for a moment, his right eye closed tight, his left cheek puffed out. Then, unable to repress his merriment, he rocks to and fro, arms akimbo, and sings with broad, rollicking humor. Oh, the poor little fellow, high, 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 highs. Legs, they were yellow. He was plump, fat, and heavy, and brisk as a snake. But some bloody savage, to graze his white cabbage, he murdered Nell Flaherty's duck-loving Drake. A multitude of midges swabs white over his robe. He scratches himself with crossed arms at his ribs, grimacing, and exclaims, I'm suffering the agony of the damned. By hokey fiddle, thanks be to Jesus, those funny little chaps are not unanimous. If they were, they'd walk me off the face of the bloody globe. His head aslant, he blesses curtly with fore and middle fingers, imparts the Easter kiss, and double shuffles off comically, swaying his hat from side to side, shrinking quickly to the size of his train bearers. The dwarf acolytes, giggling, peeping, nudging, ogling, Easter kissing, zigzag behind him. His voice is heard mellow from afar, merciful, male, melodious. Shall carry my heart to thee, shall carry my heart to thee, and the breath of the bobbing night shall carry my heart to thee. The trick door handle turns. The door handle. The next.
Zoe. The devil is in that door. A male form passes down the creaking staircase and is heard taking the waterproofing hat from the rack. Bloom starts forward involuntarily and half closing the door as he passes, takes the chocolate from his pocket and offers it nervously to Zoe. Zoe sniffs his hair briskly. Thank your mother for the rabbits. I'm very fond of what I like. Bloom, hearing a male voice in talk with the whores on the doorstep, pricks his ears. If it were he, after, or because not, or the double event? Zoe tears open the silver foil. Fingers were made before forks. She breaks off and nibbles a piece, gives the piece to Kitty Ricketts, and then turns kittenishly to Lynch. No objection to French lingerie, logins? He nods. She taunts him. Have it now, or wait till you get it? He opens his mouth, his head cocked. She whirls the prize in left circle. His head follows. She whirls it back in right circle. He eyes her. Catch. She tosses a piece. With an adroit snap, he catches it and bites it through with a crack. Kitty, chewing. The engineer that I was with at the bazaar does have lovely ones, full of the best liqueurs. And the viceroy was there with his lady. The gas we had on the Toff's hobby horses, I'm giddy still. Bloom. In Svengali's fur overcoat with folded arm and Napoleon forelock, frowns in ventriloquial exorcism with piercing eagle glance towards the door. Then, rigid, with left foot advanced, he makes a swift pass with impelling fingers and gives the sign of past master, drawing his right arm downwards from his left shoulder. Go, go, go. I conjure you, whoever you are. A male coughs and tread are heard passing through the mist outside. Bloom's features relax. He places a hand in his waistcoat, posing calmly. Zoe offers some chocolate. Bloom, solemnly. Thanks. Zoe, do as you're bid. Here. A firm heel clacking is heard on the stairs. Next, please.
Okay. Bloom takes the chocolate, aphrodisiac, but I thought it. Vanilla calms or menmo. Confused light confuses memory. Red influences lupus. Colors affect women's characters, any they have. This black makes me sad. Eat and be merry for tomorrow. He eats. Influence tastes too mauve. But it is so long since I seems new. Afro, that priest must come. Better late than never. Try truffles at Andrews. The door opens. Bella Cohen, a massive whoremistress, enters. She is dressed in a three-quarter ivory gown, fringed round the hem with tasseled selvage, and cools herself, flirting a black horn fan like Minnie Hawk in Carmen. On her left hand are wedded and keeper rings. Her eyes are deeply carboned. She has a sprouting moustache. Her olive face is heavy, slightly sweated and full-nosed, with orange-stained nostrils. She has large pendant pearl eardrops. Bella, my word, I'm all of a muck sweat. She glances round her at the couples, then her eyes rest on Bloom with hard insistence. Her large fan winds towards her heated face, neck, and ebon point. Her falcon eyes glitter. The fan, flirting quickly, then slowly. Married, I see. Bloom, yes, partly I have mislaid. The fan, half opening, then closing. And the Mrs.'s master, petticoat government. Bloom looks down with a sheepish grin. That is so. The fan, folding together, rests against her eardrop. Have you forgotten me? Bloom, yes, no. The fan, folded akimbo against her waist. Is me, her, was you dreamed before? Was then she, him, you, us, since new? I'm all them and the same now we. Bella approaches gently, tapping with the fan. Bloom, wincing, powerful being, in my eyes read that slumber which women have. The fan tapping, we have met, you are mine, it is fate. Next, please.
Bloom. Bloom. Oh,
Yeah, actually, Jane, just wait, and you're actually after Orla is the normal order. Can you see the
Oh.
chat?
I'll look at it again. Sorry.
Okay. So it's Joe, Jim, Orla, Jane, Sylvia, Lois. Okay. All right.
Mhm.
Bloom, cowed, exuberant female. Enormously, I desiderate your domination. I am exhausted, abandoned, no more young. I stand, so to speak, with an unposted letter bearing the extra regulation fee before the too late box of the General Post Office of Human Life. The door and window open at a right angle cause a draft of 32 feet per second, according to the law of falling bodies. I have felt this instant a twinge of sciatica in my left gluteal muscle. It runs in our family. Poor dear papa, a widower, was a regular barometer from it. He believed in animal heat. A skin of tabby lined his winter waistcoat. Near the end, remembering King David and the Sunamite, he shared his bed with Athos, faithful after death. A dog's spittle, as you probably, he winces, ha. Richie Goulding, bag-weighted, passes the door. Mocking is catching, best value in dub. Fit for a prince's liver and kidney. The fan tapping, all things end. Be mine now. Bloom, undecided, All now? I should not have parted with my talisman. Rain, exposure at dewfall on the sea rocks, a peccadillo at my time of life. Every phenomenon has a natural cause. The fan points downwards slowly. You may. Bloom looks downwards and perceives her unfastened bootlace. We are observed. The fan points downwards quickly. You must. Bloom with desire, with reluctance. I can make a true black knot. Learned when I served my time and worked the mail order line for Kellett's experienced hand. Every knot says a lot. Let me, in courtesy, I knelt once before today. Bella raises her gown slightly and, steadying her pose, lifts to the edge of a chair a plump buckskin hoof and a full postern silk-stocked. Bloom, stiff-legged, aging, bends over her hoof and with gentle fingers draws out and in her laces. Jim.
Bloom murmurs lovingly, to be a shoefitter in Mansfields was my love's young dream, the darling joys of sweet button hooking, to lace up crisscross to knee-length, the dressy kid footwear satin-lined, so incredibly small, of Clyde Road ladies, even their wax model Raymonde, I visited daily to admire her cobweb hose and stick of rhubarb toe as worn in Paris. The hoof, smell my hot boat hide, feel my royal weight. Bloom, cross-lacing, too tight. The hoof, if you bungle handy, I'll kick your football for you. Bloom, not to lace the wrong eyelid as I did the night of the bazaar dance. Bad luck. Nook in wrong tash of her, person you mentioned. That night she met. Now, he knots the lace. Bella places her foot on the floor. Bloom raises his head. Her heavy face, her eyes strike him in mid-brow. Her eyes grow dull, darker, and poached. His nose thickens. Bloom mumbles, awaiting your further orders, we remain gentlemen. Bella, with a hard basilisk stare and a baritone voice, hound of dishonor. Bloom infatuated. Empress, Bella, his heavy cheek chops sagging, ardor of adulterous rump. Bloom, plaintively, hugeness, Bella, dung devourer. Bloom, with sinews semi-flexed, magnificence, Bella, down, he taps her on the shoulder with his fan. Incline feet forward, slide left leg 1 pace back. You will fall, you are falling on the hands down. Bloom, his eyes upturned in a sign of admiration closing. Truffles, with a piercing epileptic cry, she sinks on all fours, grunting, snuffling, rooting at his feet, then lies shaming dead, with eyes shut tight, trembling eyelids, bowed upon the ground in the attitude of most excellent master. Bella, with bobbed hair, purple gills, fat moustache, rings around his shaven mouth in mountaineer's puttees, green silver button coat, sport skirt, and alpine hat, with moorcock's feather, his hand stuck deep in his breeches pocket, places his heel on her neck and grinds it in. Feel my entire weight. Bow, bondslave, before the throne of your despot's glorious heels, so glistening in their proud erectness. Bloom, enthralled, bleats. I promise never to disobey. Bella laughs loudly. Holy smoke, you little know what's in store for you. I'm the Tatar to settle your little lot and break you in. I'll bet Kentucky cocktails all around. I shame it out of you, old son. Cheek me, I dare you. If you do tremble in anticipation of heel discipline to be inflicted in gym costume. Bloom creeps under the sofa, peers out through his fringe. Next, please.
Zoe, widening her slip to screen her. She's not here. Bloom, closing her eyes. She's not here. Florrie, hiding her with her gown. She didn't mean it, Mr. Bellow. She'll be good, sir. Kitty, don't be too hard on her, Mr. Bellow. Sure you won't, ma'am, sir. Bellow, coaxingly. Come, ducky dear, I want a word with you, darling, just to administer correction. Just a little heart-to-heart talk, sweetie. Bloom puts out her timid head. It's a good girlie now. Bellow grabs her hair violently and drags her forward. I only want to correct you for your own good on a soft, safe spot. How's that tender behind? Oh, ever so gently, pet. Begin to get ready. Bloom, fainting. Don't tear my... Bellow, savagely. The nose ring, the pliers, the bastonado, the hanging hook, the knout I'll make you kiss while the flutes play like the Nubian slave of old. You're in for it this time. I'll make you remember me for the balance of your natural life. His forehead veins swollen, his face congested. I shall sit on your Ottoman saddleback every morning after my thumping good breakfast of Matterson's, fat ham rashers and a bottle of Guinness porter, he belches, and suck my thumping good stock exchange cigar while I read the licensed victualler's gazette. Very possibly I shall have you slaughtered and skewered in my stables and enjoy a slice of you with crisp crackling from the baking tin, basted and baked like sucking pig with rice and lemon or currant sauce. It will hurt you. He twists her arm. Bloom squeaks, turning turtle. Next, please.
Bloom, don't be cruel, nurse, don't. Bellow, twisting. Another. Bloom screams, oh, it's hell itself. Every nerve in my body aches like mad. Bellow shouts, good, by the rumping, jumping general. That's the best bit of news I heard these 6 weeks. Here, don't keep me waiting, damn you. He slaps her face. Bloom whimpers, here, after hitting me, I'll tell. Bellow, hold him down, girls, till I squat on him. Zoe, yes, walk on him. I will. Florrie, I will. Don't be greedy. Kitty, no, me. Lend him to me. The brothers' brothel cook, Mrs. Keogh, wrinkled, gray-breaded, in a greasy bib, men's gray and green socks and brogues, flour smeared, a rolling pin stuck with raw pastry in her bare red arm and hand, appears at the door. Mrs. Keogh ferociously, can I help? They hold and pinion Bloom. Bellow squats with a grunt on Bloom's upturned face, puffing cigar smoke, nursing a fat leg. I see Keating Clay is elected chairman of the Richmond Asylum. And by the by, Guinness's preference shares are at 16.75. Curse me for a fool that I didn't buy that lot Craig and Gardner told me about. Just my infernal luck, curse it. And that goddamned outsider throwaway at 20-1. He quenches his cigar angrily on Bloom's ear. Where's that goddamn cursed ashtray? Bloom, goaded, buttock smothered. Oh, monsters, cruel one. Next, please.
Bella, ask that for every 10 minutes. Beg, pray for it as you've never prayed before. He thrusts out a big fist and filed the cigar. Here, kiss that. Both kiss. He throws a leg astride and pressing with horseman's knees, calls in a hard voice. Gee up! Cock horse to Banbury Cross. I'll ride him for the eclipse stakes. He bends sideways and squeezes his mind's testicles roughly, shouting, ho, off we pop. I'll nurse you in proper fashion. He horse ride cock horse, leaping in the saddle. The lady goes pace a pace. The coachman goes trot a trot. The gentleman goes gallop a gallop a gallop. Florrie pulls at Bellow. Let me on him now. You've had enough. I asked you before. Zoe pulling at Florrie. Me. Are you not finished with him yet? Succorus. Bloom, sniffling. Can't. Bella. Well, I'm not. Wait. He holds in his breath. Curse it. Here. This bung's about to burst. He uncorks himself behind. Then, concorting his features, farts stoutly. Take that. He recorks himself. Yes, by jingo. 16 3/4. Bloom, a sweat breaking over him. Not man. He sniffs. Woman. Bellow stands up. No more blow hot and cold. What you long for has come to pass. Henceforth you are unmanned and mine in earnest. A thing under the yoke. Now for your punishment, Brock. You will shred your male garments. You understand? Ruby cone. And don the shot silk luxuriously rustling over your head and shoulders, and quickly too. Bloom shrinks. Silk? Mistress said. Oh, crinkly, scrappy. Must I tip-touch it with my nails? Bellow punched to his horse. As they are now, so will you be. Waked, singed, perfume sprayed, rice powdered, with smooth shaven armpits. Tape measurements will be taken next your skin. You'll be laced with cruel force into vice-like corsets of soft dove or tail with whalebone bust to diamond-trimmed pelvis. The absolute outside edge, while your figure plumper than when at large, will be restrained in net-type frocks, pretty 2-ounce petticoats and fringes and things stuffed. Of course, with my house flag. Creations of lovely lingerie for Alice and nice scent for Alice. Alice will feel the pull. Martha and Mary will be a little chilly at first in such delicate thigh casing, but the frilly flimsiness of lace round your bare knees will remind you. Next.
Bloom. Charming soubrette with dauby cheeks, mustard hair, and large male hands and nose, leering mouth. I tried her things on only once, a small prank in Hollis Street. When we were hard up, I washed them to save the laundry bill. My own shirts I turned. It was the purest thrift. Bellow, jeers. Little jobs that make mother pleased, eh? And showed off coquettishly in your domino at the mirror, behind close-drawn blinds, your unskirted thighs and he-goat's udders in various poses of surrender, eh? Oh, I have to laugh. That secondhand black opera top shift and short trunk like Noddy's all split up, the stitches at her last rape that Mrs. Miriam Dandrake sold you from the Shelburne Hotel, eh? Bloom, Miriam, black, demi-mondaine, Bellow, guffaws, Christ almighty, it's too tickling this. You were a nice-looking Miriam when you clipped off your backgate hairs and lay swooning in the thing across the bed as Mrs. Dandrade, about to be violated by Lieutenant Smythe, Mr. Philip Augustus Blockwell MP, Senor Laci Daremo, the robust tenor, blue-eyed Bert, the lift boy, Henri Fleury of Gordon Bennett fame, Sheridan, the quadroon Croesus, the varsity Wit Bob 8 from Old Trinity, Ponto, her splendid Newfoundland, and Bob's Dowager Duchess of Manor Hamilton. He guffaws again. Christ, wouldn't it make a Siamese cat laugh? Bloom, her hands and features working. It was Gerald converted me to a true corset lover when I was a female impersonator in the high school play, Vice Versa. It was dear Gerald. He got that kink, fascinated by sisters' stays. Now, dearest Gerald uses pinky grease paint and gilds his eyelids. Cult the beautiful. Bellow, with wicked glee. Beautiful, give us a breather. When you took your seat with womanish care, lifting your billowy flounces on the smooth-worn throne. Bloom, science, to compare the various joys we each enjoy, earnestly. And really, it's better the position, because often I used to bellow, sturdily, no insubordination. The sawdust is there in the corner for you. I gave you strict instructions, didn't I? Do it standing, sir. I'll teach you to behave like a gentleman. If I catch a trace on your swaddles, aha, by the ass of the door ends, you'll find I'm a martinet. The sins of your past are rising again. Many hundreds. The sins of the past. In a medley of voices. He went through a form of clandestine marriage with at least one woman in the shadow of the Black Church. Unspeakable messages he telephoned mentally to Miss Dunn at an address in Dollier Street, while he presented himself indecently to the instrument in the call box. By word and deed, he frankly encouraged a nocturnal strumpet to deposit fecal and other matter in an unsanitary outhouse attached to empty premises. In 5 public conveniences, he wrote penciled messages offering his nuptial partner to all strong-membered males. And by the offensively smelling vitriol works, did he not pass night after night by loving, courting couples to see if and what and how much he could see? Did he not lie in bed, the gross bore, gloating over a nauseous fragment of a well-used toilet paper presented to him by a nasty harlot, stimulated by gingerbread and a postal order? Next.
Bello whistles loudly. Say, what was the most revolting piece of obscenity in all your career of crime? Go the whole hog, puke it out, be candid for once. Mute inhuman faces, throng forward, leering, vanishing, gibbering, booloo boom, poldy cock, whose laces a penny, Cassidy's bag, Cassidy's hag, blind stripling, Larry Rhinoceros, the girl, the woman, the whore, the other, the Bloom. Don't ask me. Our mutual faith. Pleasant Street. I only thought the half of the, I swear on my sacred oath. Bellow peremptorily. Answer. Repugnant wretch. I insist on knowing. Tell me something to amuse me. Smut, or a bloody good ghost story, or a line of poetry. Quick, quick, quick. Where, how, what time, with what men, with how many? I give you just 3 seconds. 1, 2, Bloom. Docile gurgles. I repugnance in the repugnant. Bellow imperiously. Oh, get out, you skunk. Hold your tongue. Speak when you're spoken to. Bloom bows. Master, Mrs. Man-tamer. He lifts his arms, his bangle bracelets fall. Bellow satirically. By day you will souse and bat our smelling underclothes, also when we ladies are unwell, and swab out our latrines with dress penned up in a dishcloth tied to your tail. Wouldn't that be nice? He places a ruby ring on his finger, on her finger. And there now, with this ring, I thee own. Say, thank you, mistress. Bloom. Thank you, mistress. Next, please.
Bellow. You will make the beds, get my tub ready, empty the piss pots in the different rooms, including old Mrs. Kyo's, the cook's, a sandy one. Aye, and rinse the 7 of them well, mind, or lap it up like champagne. Drink me piping hot. Hop, you will dance attendance, or I'll lecture you on your misdeeds, Miss Ruby, and spank your bare butt right well, miss, with the hairbrush. You'll be taught the error of your ways. At night, your well cream bracelet hands will wear 43 button gloves, new powdered with talc, and have indelicately scented fingertips. For such favours knights of old laid down their lives, he chuckles. My boys will be no end charmed to see you so ladylike, the colonel above all. When they come here the night before the wedding to fondle my new attraction in gilded heels. First, I'll have a go at you myself. A man I know on the turf named Charles Alberta Marsh. I was in bed with him just now, and another gentleman out of the Hannapers and Petty Bag office is on the lookout for a maid of all work at a short knock. Swell the bust, smile. Droop shoulders, what offers, he points, for that lot, trained by owner to fetch and carry, basket in mouth. He bares his arms and plunges it elbow deep in bloom bundle. There's fine depth for you. What boys? That'll give you a hard one. He shoves his arm in a bidder's face. Here, wet the deck and wipe it round. A bidder, a florin. Dylan's lackey rings his handbell. A voice, 1 and 8 too much. The lackey, barang. Charles Albert Marsh. Must be virgin. Good breath, clean. Next, please.
Hello gives a rap with his gavel. 2 bar, rock bottom figure and cheap at the price. 14 hands high. Touch and examine his points. Handle him. This downy skin, these soft muscles, this tender flesh. If I had only my gold piercer here, and quite easy to milk, 3 new-laid gallons a day, pure stock getter, due to lay within the hour. His sire's milk record was 1,000 gallons of whole milk in 40 weeks. Whoa, my jewel, beg up, whoa. He brands his initial C on Bloom's croup. So, warranted Cohen. What advance on 2 bob, gentlemen? A dark-visaged man in disguised accent, 100 pounds sterling. Voices subdued. For the Caliph Harun al-Rashid. Bellow gaily. Right, let them all come. The scanty, daringly short skirt, riding up at the knee to show a peep of white pantalette, is a potent weapon, and transparent stockings, emerald gartered, with the long straight seam trailing up beyond the knee, appeal to the better instincts of the blasé man about town. Learn the smooth mincing walk on 4-inch Louis XV heels, the Grecian bend with provoking croup, the thighs fluorescent, knees modestly kissing. Bring all your power of fascination to bear on them. Pander to their Gomorian vices. Bloom bends his blushing face into his armpit and simpers with forefinger in mouth. Oh, I know what you're hinting at now. Bellow, what else are you good for? An impotent thing like you. He stoops and, peering, pokes with his fan rudely under the fat suet folds of Bloom's haunches. Up, Manx cat, what are we here? Where's your girly teapot gone to, or who docked it on you? Cock-yolly, sing, birdie, sing. It's as limp as a boy of 6 is doing his poolie behind a cart. Buy a bucket or sell your pump. Loudly, can you do a man's job? Bloom, Eccles Street. Bellow, sarcastically, I wouldn't hurt your feelings for the world, but there's a man of brawn in possession there. The tables are turned, my gay young fellow. He's something of a full-grown outdoor man. Well for you, you muff, if you had that weapon with knobs and lubs and warts all over it. He shot his bolt, I can tell you, foot to foot, knee to knee, belly to belly, bubs to breast. He's no eunuch. A shock of red hair he has sticking out of him behind like a furze bush. Wait for 9 months, my lad. Holy ginger, it's kicking and coughing up and down in her guts already. That makes you wild, doesn't it? Touches the spot. He spits in contempt. Spittoon. Jim.
Bloom, I was indecently treated. I informed the police. £100, unmentionable. I. Bellow. Would, if you could, lame duck, a downpour we want, not your drizzle. Bloom, to drive me mad, Moll, I forgot. Forgive me, Moll. We still, Bello, ruthlessly. No, Leopold Bloom. All is changed by woman's will since you slept horizontal in Sleepy Hollow your night of 20 years. Return and see. Old Sleepy Hollow calls over the wold. Sleepy Hollow, Rip Van Winkle, Bloom, in tattered moccasins with rusty fowling piece, tiptoeing, finger tipping, his haggard, bony, bearded face peering through the diamond panes, cries out, I see her. It's she, the first night of Matt Dillon's, but that dress, the green and the hair is dyed gold, and he, Bello, laughs mockingly. That's your daughter, you owl, with a Mullingar student. Millie Bloom, faint-hearted, green-vested, slim-sandaled, her blue scarf in the sea wind simply swirling, breaks from the arms of her lover and calls her young eyes wonder-wide. Millie, my, it's Papley, but, oh Papley, how old you've grown, Bella. Changed, eh? Our whatnot, our writing table where we never wrote, Anne Hegarty's armchair, our classic reprints of old masters. A man and his men friends are living there in clover. The cuckoo's rest. Why not? How many women had you, say? Following them up dark street, flatfoot, exciting them by your smothered grunts. What, you male prostitute? Blameless dames with parcels of groceries. Turn about, sauce for the goose, my gander, oh. Bloom, Bello, cuttingly, their heel marks will stamp the brusselet carpet you bought at Wren's auction. In their horseplay with Moll, the romp to find the buck flea in her breeches, they will deface the little statue you carried home in the rain for art's sake. They will violate the secrets of your bottom drawer. Pages will be torn from your handbook of astronomy to make them pip-seals, and they will spit in your 10-shilling brass fender from Hampton's Leadham's. Bloom, 10 and 6, the act of low scoundrels. Let me go. I will return. I will prove. A voice, swear. Bloom clenches his fist and crawls forward, a bowie knife between his teeth. Bello, as a paying guest or kept man, too late, you have made your second best bed and others must lie in it. Your epitaph is written. You are down and out, and don't you forget it, old bean. Bloom, justice, all Ireland versus one. Has nobody, he bites his thumb. Next, please.
Bellow, die and be damned to you if you have any sense of decency or grace about you. I can give you a rare old wine that'll send you skipping to hell and back. Sign a will and leave us any coin you have. If you have none, see you damn well get it, steal it, rob it. We'll bury you in our shrubbery, Jake's where you'll be dead and dirty with old Cuck Cohen, my step-nephew I married, the bloody old gouty procurator and sodomite with a crick in his neck, and my other 10 or 11 husbands, whatever the buggers' names were, suffocated in the one cesspool. He explodes in a loud, phlegmy laugh. We'll manure you, Mr. Flower, he pipes scoffingly. Bye-bye, Poldy, bye-bye, Papley. Bloom clasps his head. My willpower, memory, I have sinned, I have suffered. He weeps tearlessly. Bellow sneers. Cry, Babby, crocodile tears. Bloom broken, closely veiled for the sacrifice, sobs, his face to the earth. The passing bell is heard. Dark-shawled figures of the circumcised in sackcloth and ashes stand by the wailing wall. M. Shulamovitz, Joseph Goldwater, Moses Herzog, Harris Rosenberg, M. Moisel, J. Citron, Minnie Watchman, O. Mastiansky, the Reverend Leopold Abramovitz, Chazen, With swaying arms, they wail in Numa over the recreant bloom, the circumcised. In a dark guttural chant as they cast dead sea fruit upon him, no flowers. Shema Israel Adonai Elohenu Adonai Echad. Next, please.
Voices sighing. So he's gone. Ah, yes, yes, indeed. Bloom? Never heard of him. No, queer kind of chap. There's the widow. That's so? Ah, yes. From the suttee pyre, the flame of gum campfire ascends. The pall of incense smoke screens and disperses. Out of her oak frame, a nymph with hair unbound, lightly clad in tea-brown art colors, descends from her grotto, and passing under interlacing yews stands over Bloom, the yews, their leaves whispering, "Sister, our sister, shh," the nymph softly, "Mortal, kindly, nay, dost not weepest." Bloom crawls jellily forward under the boughs, streaked by sunlight with dignity. This position, I felt it was expected of me, force of habit, the nymph. "Mortal, you found me in evil company, high kickers, coster picnic makers, pugilists, popular generals, immoral panto boys in flesh tights, and the nifty shimmy dancers, La Aurora and Carini musical act, the lilt of the century. I was hidden in cheap pink paper that smelt of rock oil. I was surrounded by the stale smut of clubmen, stories to disturb callow youth, ads for transparencies, chewed up dice and bust pads, proprietary articles, and why wear a truss with testimonial from ruptured gentlemen, useful hints to the married. Bloom lifts a turtle head towards her lap. "We have met before, on another star," the nymph sadly. "Rubber goods, never rip. Brand as supplied to the aristocracy, corsets for men. I cure fits or money refunded. Unsolicited testimonials for Professor Waldman's wonderful chest exuber. My bust developed 4 inches in 3 weeks," reports Mrs. Gus Rublin with photo. Bloom, "You mean photo bits?" The nymph, "I do. You bore me away, framed me in oaken tinsel, set me above your marriage couch. Unseen one summer eve, you kissed me in 4 places, and with loving pencil, you shaded my eyes, my bosom, and my shame." Next, please.
Bloom humbly kisses her long hair. Your classic curves, beautiful, immortal. I was glad to look on you, to praise you, a thing of beauty, almost to pray. Nymph, during dark nights I heard your praise. Bloom, yes, yes. You mean that I? Sleep reveals the worst side of everyone. Children perhaps excepted. I know I fell out of bed, or rather was pushed. See, wine is said to cure snoring. For the rest, there is that English invention, pamphlet, of which I received some days ago, incorrectly addressed. It claims to afford a noiseless, inoffensive vent. Was ever thus. Frailty. Thy name is marriage. Nymph. Her fingers in her ears. And words, they're not in my dictionary. Bloom, you understood them. The use. Shh. The nymph covers her face with her hands. What have I not seen in that chamber? What must my eyes look down on? Bloom, apologetically. I know. Soiled personal linen, wrong side up with care. The quoits are loose from Gibraltar by long sea long ago. The nymph bends her head. Worse. Next.
Bloom reflects precautiously. That antiquated commode, it wasn't her weight. She scaled just 11 stone 9. She put on 9 pounds after weaning. It was a crack and a want of blue, eh? And that absurd orange keyed utensil, which has only one handle. The sound of a waterfall is heard in bright cascade. The waterfall. Pulafuka, 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 pulafuka. The ewes, mingling their boughs. Listen, whisper. She is right, our sister. We grew by Pulafuka waterfall. We gave shade on languorous summer days. John Wise Nolan. In the background, in Irish National Forester's uniform, doffs his plumed hat. Prosper, give shade on languorous days, trees of Ireland. The ewes murmuring. Who came to Pulafuka with the high school excursion? Who left his nut-questing classmates to seek our shade? Bloom, scared. High school of Pula, Nemo, not in full possession of faculties. Concussion, run over by tram. The echo, sham. Bloom, pigeon-breasted, bottle-shouldered, padded in nondescript juvenile gray and black striped suit, too small for him, white tennis shoes, bordered stockings with turnover tops, and a red school cap with badge. I was in my teens, a growing boy. A little then sufficed. A jolting car, the mingling odors of the ladies' cloakroom and lavatory, the throng penned tight on the old royal stairs, for they love crushes, instinct of the herd, and the dark, sex-smelling theater unbridled vice. Even a priceless of their hosiery. And then the heat. There was sunspots that summer, end of school, and tipsy cake. Halcyon days. Halcyon days, high school boys in blue and white football jerseys and shorts, Master Donald Turnbull, Master Abraham Chatterton, Master Owen Goldberg, Master Jack Meredith, Master Percy Apjohn, stand in the clearing of the trees and shout to Master Leopold Bloom. The halcyon days. Mackerel, live us again. Hooray, they cheer. Bloom. Hobbled hoy, warm gloved, mama mufflered, starred with spent snowballs, struggles to rise. Again, I feel 16. What a lark. Let's ring all the bells in Montague Street. He cheers feebly. Hooray for the high school. The echo, fool. The ewes, wrestling. She is right, our sister. Whisper. Whispered kisses are heard in all the wood. Faces of hamadryads peep out from the boles and among the leaves and break, blossoming into bloom. Who profaned our silent shade? The nymph, coyly through parting figures, there in the open air. Next.
Okay. We will stop here. We will
Oh.
stop here. Okay.
Mm.
7. And today is the 19th, so next time is the 26th. Okay, Lois, you want to tell me what page you're on?
Yes, page 448.
Gabler 448. Okay, I have the Wordsworth already. Any other additions I need to make a note of?
Long penguin is 658.
Penguin, long, 658. Okay, and all right.
Let me see. Sorry, what was the last sentence? Sorry, I got a bit distracted.
Oh, I believe it's who profaned our silent shade. So we'll start with the nymph, coyly through parting fingers, there in the open air. That sound right?
Good enough.
Yeah. That's it, Duncan.
Yep.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah, right. Okay,
Let's see. And,
so it's the 19th.
sorry about the phone noise there. I'll get up and silence the phone in just a second. Wow. Somebody really wants me.
In Ireland, do you get what we call spam calls? We get these awful phone calls all day long.
Yeah.
You just don't pick up.
Yeah.
'cause they're- you get
Yes,
them too.
You know, I don't know if it's available everywhere, but I use Google Screen Call.
Hmm.
It's a free thing. And so when my phone rings, it gives me an option to answer it, decline it, or screen the call.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And if you push the screen call button, then it says, you have called number so and so, and the person has asked us to screen their calls. You know, please tell us what this call is about. And that eliminates
Yeah.
90% of all calls.
Thank you.
that
Yeah.
sounds good.
Mm.
What did you call it, Duncan?
I
Google.
think it's called Google Screen Call.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's really useful. I've been using it for at least 2 years. And my policy is that unless I'm expecting a call,
Hmm.
Mhm.
I don't answer any call that is not identified.
Yeah. There's no point.
Very wise, yeah.
Yeah,
But-
so that
But
really,
all the young people leave voice notes. They don't ring each other anymore. And so it's you
Mhm.
send each other a voice note.
Yeah.
I've seen
Yeah.
them on the bus. And it's very interesting that younger people are uncomfortable with phone calls.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Uh,
Well, the problem with a phone call is you have to participate at that moment. And young
That's
people
right.
are very busy. So they
Yeah.
can't pick up the phone now. You can make an appointment to talk to them later.
Yeah.
oh yes, I've heard that you don't cold call a person. This is someone
Yeah.
you know now. You must text them first and say, "Can I
Right.
ring you?"
Yeah.
Mhm,
Yeah.
that's what I do. That's what I do.
Yeah. Yeah. Like phone calls are very intrusive, really.
Hmm. As you know, if you're in a shop, let's say it's a small shop and you're doing some business, and the phone rings,
Yeah.
that most of the time the shopkeeper will ask you to hold on for a minute while they answer the phone.
Yep. The
Yes.
call takes precedence.
To tell, well, yeah,
Yeah.
and that's just a thing. Devices take precedence almost.
Yeah.
Yes,
But,
yes.
so
It's
anyway,
force of habit, isn't it, as well? We just grew up doing that.
hmm
Uh,
okay. This is Cersei always amazes me.
Well, I'm here to make some comments early out of the box. I found the entire transformation of Bloom to female upsetting. The
Mhm.
actions that were taken were upsetting. The
Mhm.
language that was used was upsetting. The whole
Mhm.
concept was upsetting. And I'm glad I didn't have to read much of it out loud.
Okay. Well, you know, if it ever becomes too upsetting on any of this, you can say you can just
I can
read.
pass.
You
I
can
will pass.
Yeah.
But just as a general comment, I find I've read it before and I'm familiar with
Uh-huh.
it, but
Yeah.
it really, I find it upsetting.
Okay. I imagine James Joyce would be happy to hear you say that.
Exactly. Exactly.
You know, it should be upsetting in a sense, and confusing and all of that.
Yeah.
You know, and it, right where we started today, where was that thing? The first thing that we read was pretty amazing.
Well, that was Virag. Virag.
What page was it on in Wordsworth?
452.
452. Okay.
Halfway.
So I think right there, right the very begin, the first thing that I read, where it says, I wanted then to have now concluded, night dress was never, hence this, but tomorrow is a new day will be, past was is today, what now is will, then tomorrow as now was be past yester. So time is like completely muddled.
Hmm.
And I think that that is in some senses, setting us up for everything else that's going to get muddled.
Hmm.
Yeah. And then Virag, I mean, his father has all these insect references. Mhm. Anybody tell me why Philip drunk and Philip sober had Matthew Arnold's face?
They went to Eton. They were students of Eton College.
Hmm.
Okay.
I don't know. That's just my guess.
Okay. And Matthew Arnold was at Eden. Did he have some association with Eton?
Yes, he was a reforming schoolmaster. He made, I believe, a lot of changes for the betterment of the boys at Eton College. Like I believe that he brought in individual. They would used to share beds, and he brought in the rule that they had to have their own single beds. And I think he brought in other subjects as well as Latin and Greek, geography and history, as far as I know.
Huh. Okay.
Did he write on Dover Beach?
Hmm?
Is Dover Beach one of his poems?
Did Matthew Arnold write Dover Beach?
Yeah,
I don't know.
it's something in the back of my head.
Hmm.
I somehow don't associate him with poetry, but
Hmm.
that doesn't
I
mean
may
I'm
have
right.
another name in my head that I'm missing.
What's
Hmm. Here, let me find out what's.
I've got him as a poet and cultural critic who worked as an inspector of schools.
Wasn't he a traitor?
Benedict Arnold.
That's Benedict Arnold, American, yes. Them Arnolds.
Yeah.
And then there's Arnold Palmer.
He was a professor at Oxford. As well.
Let's see, Dover Beach.
Also, maybe on page, this is in Wordsworth 462, where Bloom, it says, it's talking with a fan, and Bloom says cowed, exuberant female. Hold on, I'm trying to figure out where we've got a voice talking in the
I
background.
think it's Joe on the telephone.
what's it?
Okay, what I'll do, oh yeah, okay, thank you. Okay, so it says Bloom, cowed, exuberant female, enormously I desiderate.
Just Duncan, I am not on the telephone, and there are no noises coming from here.
Oh,
okay.
I'm sorry. I accused you of being the noisemaker. I apologize, Joe.
That's okay. That's okay. But just like I wouldn't do that.
Yeah,
I wouldn't speak on the phone during.
very few would. Just occasionally, people forget.
Yeah.
But obviously, it's not you, so it's okay. It's just usually I can figure out.
Yeah, I had Anne's
where it's coming from.
voice was coming on there on my screen, but Anne's now muted, so it's gone.
Okay, all right.
Don't know if it was or not.
So, can someone explain to me what enormously I desiderate your domination? What is desiderate as a verb?
Isn't that desire?
Well, desire and then there's another that's two words mashed together.
Desiderata, isn't that stuff that's left over, like flotsam and jetsam? I don't have a dictionary near me or anything I can look it up. Desiderata.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm also thinking.
Yeah.
And desiderata, if I remember correctly, is a lamentation of
it's a regret or a want.
Yes,
On
the
top of a
definition-
desire. That's the way I would.
the
okay.
definition I have is to feel a keen desire for something lacking or absent. I desiderate the resources of a family. I have no idea how that example means that, but
Okay.
Yeah, so you really feel the want of something and miss it a lot. It's a strong form of desire.
Okay.
I've got the Matthew Arnold thing. You know the way there's barbarians and Philistines. So maybe Philip I is a barbarian and Philip II is a Philistine. You know the way sometimes people are called so-and-so are the barbarians. The barbarians are the aristocracy and the Philistines are the commercial middle class. But you know the way a Philistine is someone who doesn't understand the finer things.
Mhm.
And the barbarians are the people
Mhm.
who just enjoy everything.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't know it was Matthew Arnold who that was his thing. That was what he was famous for.
Oh, so that's the connection
So there's
of the Philip
one's a
drum.
barbarian and one's a Philistine. I'm guessing.
That's
guessing I
right.
haven't read it enough
I
time.
think his famous book is like Anarchy and Culture. I believe that Matthew Arnold, in addition to his poetry, actually had a book called Anarchy and Culture. I'll check that later. So let me just make an overall statement, Lois. I'm mentioning Lois in particular of why this is upsetting, but that there's a method in the madness here. And what it is that I don't think Bloom has really come to grips totally with the soft dictatorship of Molly. Molly is obviously the master in the house, but she kind of hides it. And kind of the Bella Cohen thing is for Bloom to experience that domination in an open and brutal form. So he can make an actual decision about what he's doing. This is just a kind of wild guess on my part, but it seems to be part of what's going on.
yes, I understood it to be a commentary on women's position. So I sensed that was the point that was being made, but I found it disturbing nonetheless.
Yeah, well, she really gets, or Joyce really gets into it when he gets into when Bella is describing about how she is going to dress Bloom up and what she expects him to do when he is transformed into one of her working girls. And he really gets right down to it and says they're worse than slaves.
Mm.
If Zoe hadn't taken Zoom or Bloom's talisman, then Bella Cohen would have been able to do what she did to him, because his protection was gone.
Mm-hmm.
He actually, if you know what I mean, like
Mhm.
in the Odyssey, Ulysses gets Molly, is it
Molly,
to
yes,
protect
which is
him?
an herb.
Yeah,
It's an
and she
herb,
can't
right?
turn him into and she can't turn him into swine. But
Mhm.
Bloom gave Zoe his talisman, and then this allows Bella to change him and do whatever she wants to him.
Yeah, and I think
And that-
actually that Kitty takes the talisman from him. He doesn't give him to he doesn't really give
Oh
it.
yeah, Zoe takes it from him
She
before
takes
they
it and
go
he
into
doesn't
it.
demand it back. He just kind of
Yeah,
does his
and he
Bloom
does say
thing
at
of
one stage, "I
mumbling.
shouldn't have parted with my talisman."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Bloom says it at some stage.
Yeah.
But
Mm.
Bella changes sex too. Am I right? Bella
Yes.
becomes
Mm.
Mhm.
mellow.
Yeah, she becomes a man or the
Yep.
kind of male.
That's it. You know, like Italian. That's Bella and Bello.
Yeah, well,
See-
and look at Ruby and Rudy.
Yeah.
And Ruby and Reuben.
Is Reuben mentioned somewhere here?
Well, we had the Reuben J. Dodd.
Oh, okay. 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 I'll tell you a little story which is not directly connected with this, but which I think is indirectly connected with this. I was down in San Miguel in Mexico, San Miguel de Allende, and I had a friend who was a resident there, who I had known in Austin and through a yoga group I was involved with. And she, during the stay, she took me to see a shaman or shamaness. And we went to see the shamaness, and I think the shamaness actually, as a sign to demonstrate her magic, actually, I think made off with my wristwatch, which I didn't even notice until we got home. So she changed time for me. But the shamaness was dressed as a man.
Yeah.
She had a suit on. And then my friend lived very close to a church there, and she was talking to me. She said, "You know, it's really interesting. Here we had the female shamaness who's dressed as a man, and we're going to go down for this ceremony where they're going to plant a tree in honor of my grandfather, and the priest is going to be dressed in women's clothes." So that whole changing of clothes is also kind of a portal, a doorway into another realm. In the case of the shamaness, it goes more into the shaman world, and of course in the church. So I think that there's a lot of that going on, and I think one of the purposes of all this stuff is a kind of a teaching for Bloom and a transformation, or maybe just a coming awareness, him coming aware of a few things.
Yeah. There was just a little quirky thing which is not really relevant, but I thought, you know, Bello
Mhm.
was talking about all the, you know, describing what Bloom was wearing or whatever. And she said, mincing walk on 4-inch Louis Quince heels. And I was thinking, God, Louis Vuitton now. You know, I just thought, God, so it's just a little quirky thing for me.
Mhm. But it was part of that whole thing of the torturousness of women's clothes.
Mm, mm, mm.
Joe, we haven't heard from you. I'm waiting to hear your take.
I'm hoping someone would explain it to me. There's one thing that there's humor in here too, in the middle of all these horrors, there's one, because these are all Bloom's fears and guilts rising up to assault him. And pages will be torn from your handbook of astronomy and be used to clean pipes, the smokers' pipes. That is in among that rates with all the other stuff in Bloom's sort of subconscious. I just think that's so like him, This astronomy book would be torn up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And there was a wonderful thing, I don't know where it is, about posting something in the letterbox of what. I thought that was.
Yes,
yes, post-loaders, yeah.
Just before the transformation.
Yeah, what was it? Yeah. I can't find it now.
For the the too late box or something in the local post office of life.
Yeah. Oh no, yeah.
At the start.
Oh yes.
It was the first one I was reading, rather. So
yeah. I stand, so to speak, with an unposted letter bearing extra regulation fee for the too late box of the General Post Office of Cuban Night. I thought, wow.
Yeah. That's classic Bloom, isn't it? He's got a detailed explanation of the crazy world. But I always took that Bloom, this is Bloom's subconscious, and that he has this ability to identify with other creatures right from the start. The cat for breakfast, and he's sort of saying, well, I must appear like a dinosaur or some, very tall, that and he puts himself into the cat's position, and he's actually, his subconscious is not seduced by any of the glamour of this brothel at all, and he's taking the position of the girls who are in this situation and what it must be like for them. That's the full
but
heart.
on page 461, he's saying colors affect women's characters any they have.
Well, that's Bloom again. You see, yeah, that's his. But
I know. But I think we have to look at it from a number of different angles.
Yeah.
That's, Bloom is acting a character, but at the same time, we all know that what he feels for Molly Bloom and what he has. I think Joyce is pointing out to us what men were like at the time. I'm looking for the Shakespeare in it because there's a big Shakespeare thing on BBC 4 at the moment. They're having lots of, every Sunday night they have a number of Shakespeare plays on, and the people who directed the plays talking about them. And there's so much Shakespeare in this, and I know there was some this evening, but I can't find it.
But they were talking about the second best bet, Orla.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And so if in the US you can get a UK IP address, you can get the BBC iPlayer, and then you'll be able to. I'm not skilled enough to be able to figure out how to do it in Ireland. We just have to watch television or tape it. But if you can get the UK IP address, you'll be able to watch them all on the iPlayer, and it's really and the people talking about them. because it really comes up in this a lot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, another.
And there's a lot in Shakespeare about men dressing up as women as well, because the women actresses were men
Yeah,
Yeah,
at the time.
women could not actually be in the theater
that's right.
that time, so they had to use young boys, which is very much like in Japan too. Kabuki theater was all men acting the parts of women.
Sorry, Duncan.
I'm just going to mention there's an American scholar, Victor Chin, I believe his name is Cheng, who has a book, a very good book, called Shakespeare and Joyce.
Oh,
Which, if you like secondaries, if you're not opposed to secondary sources, is well worth looking at. And he also wrote another book. Victor Chen also wrote another book called, I think, Nationalism and the Writings of James Joyce, or something like that. So, yeah, but there's all this stuff on page 471. There's this whole confusion of chickens and cows.
Yes.
Where we got, and then we get this whole, Bello and Bella. Right there is, Bello I associate with bellicose, warlike.
Yes.
And Bella is beauty,
yeah. Good.
as in
That's
belladonna.
Yeah. Bello is Latin for in war.
So we got war and beauty. I mean,
It's interesting that Bloom or Joyce on page 464, just where Bloom begins to become female and Bello emerges. In the first draft of this, Joyce changed Bloom's name to Leopoldina.
Ah,
So at that point, he intended to make it clear that he was feminizing him. And then he took away Leopoldina and put Bloom back. So, but there's loads of pig references throughout it. Like we have Bloom, all fours, grunting, snuffling, rooting at his feet. That's the point of the crewmen in book 10 being turned into pigs. And even right at the very start of tonight, Virag was prompting in his ear in a pig's whisper. There's there's loads of the cannibalism of Circe is referred to. He might take Leopoldina and have her as a rashers for breakfast.
Yes,
So,
turn them into bacon.
Pigs, but I can't remember. There's two of Ulysses' men were eaten while they were in the form of pigs. Or was it more? So it's like there's loads and loads of all sorts of stuff running through it.
But and the pig and the Jewish thing, the Jews don't eat pork, so there's something juxtaposed there, isn't there?
Yeah, this probably is overkill, but in Judaism, Cohen, the name Cohen, the original high priests were called the Kohanim or Cohens. So everyone with the name Cohen is supposedly descended from the high priests.
Right. Well, there's a bit of there's irony in there, right there, because you have Bella Cohen as being the brothel keeper.
Okay.
And amazingly, there was actually a person of that name. It's based on a lady called Cohen, Bella Cohen.
What's that?
Yes, she's a bit of a mystery. She my memory is she was English. Ellen, her name was Ellen. I can't remember her name, but she operated as Bella, or was it the other way around? She operated under the name Ellen, a different name, but her real name was Bella Cohen. And no one knows what became of her. She was gone by 1906. She may have retired to a cottage somewhere in the UK, in England.
So I'm assuming that that Joyce did his research down in, up in Montauk.
That's one word for it.
Well, and there, and also in Trieste. Trieste is actually, Trieste was another seaport. And it had a very lively prostitution trade there.
And I think as well, Joyce's first experience of being with a woman was at 16, where he bumped into a prostitute along the quays in Dublin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Certainly had the experience. But these
I always thought he was getting it from Sweets of Sin. You know, those books they were buying, that Bloom buys. I thought that Joyce was reading all of those books.
Hmm.
And there was possibly male versions of those books as well.
very well. Yeah.
And that he was
Oh, you bet.
fantasizing based on what he was reading.
Yeah.
Was there something about Sweets of Sin in this week?
Yeah, he comes up a few times in his thoughts, all right. But he's talking to the wallpaper when it's the nymphs, the wall painting, the decoration, the plasterwork on the wall.
Yeah, which I guess reminds him of the nymph.
He's still hallucinating in that goes back to his school days.
Yeah.
This reminds me of the AAA, that in order that you have to hit bottom,
Yeah.
in order to go into recovery and to resolve issues, that this is kind of Bloom's AAA experience, although he doesn't drink, but he's got all these complexes that are going on. And he's taken a deep dive here. He's going absolutely, unless he has fantasies about murder and all that stuff, he's going about as far as a person can go.
Yeah. And then there's the great tradition in Greek theater that the hero, before his great deed, is always subjected to great humiliation.
Oh, okay.
So you kind of got that as well,
Mm.
sort of coming out of it.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is also to relate it to Dante, which we all know that Joyce read Dante and admired Dante. In the very beginning of Dante, he has to go through the Inferno.
Yeah.
And the reference to astronomy as well,
Yeah.
in today. But there's a reference here, after this postbox thing, at the end of that, there's this, it's in the same quote. And near the end, I mean, this is just before all this transformation or this hallucination. Near the end, remembering King David and the Sunamite, he shared his bed with Athos. And I looked up Athos, and Athos is wisdom and courage, faithful after death. So I don't know. Is he going to get wisdom and courage or wisdom out of this?
Yes, I actually think he does.
Yeah. But he's sharing his father shared a bed with Athos. It was his dog.
Oh, yeah.
That he said, be kind to Athos after in a suicide note. So there's a sort of a double-pronged meaning there. There's a symbolism that's pointing at that there's an actual dog.
Oh, that's why they then get the dog's spittle. Oh, right. I mean,
yeah. But I think your point is great. The dog has the name of a significant
name.
What's the name of the dog in the Odyssey?
Argos.
Oh, right. Thank you.
What's the name of the dog? What's the name?
Argos.
Argos. So is he?
Argos.
He's possibly the first dog in human history whose name we know.
And then he uses this Athos.
Yeah, Argos and Athos, I suppose. Yeah,
Yeah.
Argos
But
is the name of a place in Greece. The city of still a. I don't know, it's just probably is a small city. Argos. I call it a town because it was a town when I was there.
I'm thinking the Three Musketeers, Duma, Athos, Porthos, and
There you go. Yeah. Oh, it's too funny.
Hmm.
Oh dear. I love it.
It's getting to be as complicated as Finnegan's Wake with all the multiple meanings of everything.
Yeah, and you remember Bloom's ankle fetish?
Mhm.
Looking at the
Oh, and he
lady
wanted to work
and
in the shoe shop.
eaters climbing up, well, then you get all this thing about wanting to tie shoelaces and
Yes. Yes.
And
Well,
what about Bella or Bellows foot turning into a hoof?
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. And the first thing that happened Bloom when he entered Nighttown, he acquired 2 other limbs, one of which was a pig's foot. You know,
Mhm.
A trotter, a pig's trotter as well.
turning into a 4-footed creature. He
Oh,
went
very
and
good.
bought 2. You see, you can
Excellent.
Very good.
all,
Very good.
yeah, it's all kind of spooky.
Oh,
It's very hard to take a story out of it.
well, didn't he say anyway he'd keep the professors guessing for years to come?
Yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah,
And he has us guessing.
he's got his
absolutely.
100 clamped up.
You know, I remember there was a folk tale when I was first going, to dances, and the locals were telling this story about the girl going to the dance and meeting this beautiful man, and then when she goes outside and looks down, he's got 2 holes. He's got
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, that's right. That comes from there's a famous house down in the southeast of Ireland, down around it's either Water or Wexford. I can't think of the name of the house, but there's a story that one night this man called the house, and in the day they had the tradition that if a stranger called to your house, you brought them in. Now, this was a grand house, so the man was of a similar class, but they were playing cards anyway, and he dropped his card, and one of the young girls went down to pick up the card, and she saw his feet were cloven feet, which meant he was devil. So she screamed and she screamed and she screamed, and immediately the stranger turned into a fireball and shot through the roof, going through several stories. Now, there is a genuine hole in the house, and it goes through several stories, and they have made several attempts down the years, but they have never been able to successfully mend the hole. Now, someone has speculated it could possibly have been a meteorite that struck the house.
Yeah.
oh, I love
Yeah, there's great devil stories around, and
Mhm.
I live on high ground, like Duncan, and there's a place nearby called the Hellfire Club. I don't know if anyone has heard of the Hellfire Club.
Oh, yes. It's
And
very famous.
it was a gentleman's club, and they one night they were playing cards with a guy from the city, and someone noticed the cloven foot, and then there was the big fire. That part of burned down. I think they just all got drunk and set fire to it.
Mhm.
But funny things still happen around there. The coach house when I was a teenager, before that, even in the 60s, there's a restaurant was opened at the coach house, and then strange things began to happen. Furniture moved in the night and all this sort of stuff,
Oh,
and the Dutchman who had bought it fled the country,
Mhm.
all these stories that they're
and they were all probably around, I mean, they've been passed down, but Joyce had all those stories as well.
Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
Could I go back to the sins of the past for more humor? I find this very fun. Well, maybe I shouldn't find it funny. The sins of the past. And remember, Blazes Boylan has a secretary called Miss Dunn. And these are his sins in his head. He
Mhm.
hasn't done this, but it's a sort of a counteraction to Boylan he had been thinking of. Unspeakable messages. He telephoned to Miss Dunn at an address in Delure Street. He's thinking of counterattacking on Boylan by making
Okay.
obscene phone calls so that he loses his secretary.
Mhm,
As a way
mhm,
of trying to get them to have more to do and keep away from Molly. You know, he hasn't done it, but the idea he would go into a phone box and start making nasty phone calls to the secretary.
mhm, mhm, mhm.
She's the one who's typing the letter, isn't it? And it's one of the
Yeah.
2 days we get, 18th of June.
By the way, there are multiple goat references, even in just what we read today. I mean, and like when we start reading next week, immediately there's another goat reference, which I won't tell you what it is.
Are you saying goat references or
Goat,
dog
goat, Goat.
goat references? Right.
You know, in the very beginning, he refers to a woman's genitals as cloven.
Yes. Yes.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So there's that, and I think we read another goat thing today in addition. And then immediately when we read next Thursday, there's another goat reference.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, lots and lots of stuff. But I have definitely learned a few new things today
Yeah.
and valuable.
mm.
Okay, shall we call it a day or a night, and we'll gather together
Okay.
Thank you,
next
Yeah,
everyone.
Tuesday.
Thank you.
Beautiful readings.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you all
Thank
very,
you.
very much.
Night, everybody.